pandemic in India also enabled us to renew our faith in our mission and our motivation to continue fighting for the digital rights of every Indian. The second wave, therefore, in turn emphasized to us the need for constant vigilance in the fight against digital authoritarianism, curbing of free speech, and mass surveillance. To start off with telling you what we did in the past quarter, as well as how we aim to move forward, I would like to invite my colleague Tanmay Singh, who is IFF's litigation associate. Tanmay?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Anushka. I'm Tanmay. I'm the litigation counsel at IFF, and I'm truly fortunate and grateful to be here and to be able to call myself that. I'm also incredibly fortunate to have a fantastic team of lawyers around me and around us at IFF. We are led by Vinda Bhandari and Abhinav Sekri, who are our off counsel. We have Sanjana, who is a litigation fellow, and we have Krishnesh, who is a fellow with the for the Center of Communication Governance at NLU Delhi, and he's being hosted by IFF, and we're very fortunate to have him. Our group of 5 lawyers is 5 litigating lawyers is cooking up a lot of stuff before the courts. We are engaged in a lot of challenges. We're engaged in a lot of areas where digital rights are being defended before the courts and before judges. I'll speak about some of them. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with some of the big ones. In fact, this is my second members call. Actually, at my first members call, I remember I had said that because it's my first members call, I'm supposed to say that I'm very excited to get started. But I had already gotten started by then. We were already firming up our challenges to the IT rules. And I'm very glad to say that we've been able to bring at least 2 challenges to the IT rules before High Courts of India. There's the live law challenge, which is before the Kerala High Court, and Mr. T.M. Krishna has also brought a challenge to the IT rules before the Madras High Court. Now, these IT rules, they're problematic in many ways. They're undemocratic, they're unconstitutional. They seriously increase government control and oversight over OTT platforms, digital news media, and social media platforms, which is basically, if you think about it, the entirety of our internet experience. So they fundamentally change how you use the internet today. And for many, many reasons, constitutional, administrative, and also conceptual, we've challenged the rules. Before the Kerala High Court, we've been able to get interim protections for live law from coercive actions in respect of these rules. Interestingly, on the basis of the order that live law had received in that challenge, the National Broadcasters Union went back to the Kerala High Court and received a very similar order for themselves. So that's the sort of impact that we're able to have through sustained strategic litigation. But it's not just litigation specifically that we pursue before the courts. We're on the lookout for all sorts of opportunities. One of the areas that we had identified was that there were many suo motu cases and hearings going on before various high courts and also the Supreme Court of India during the second wave of COVID, of the pandemic. And in a lot of these matters, the court was examining COVID relief measures, including oxygen, hospital beds, ambulances, all kinds of things. And one of the things that they had looked at the time was COVID. What we were able to do was we were able to submit memorandums to the amicus curiae before the Delhi High Court, which was Mr. Rajshekhar Rao. We submitted 2 memorandums to him talking about how we could make CoWIN a better platform, how we could solve some of the various, and there are various issues with CoWIN. One of the notes that we submitted suggested 4 very easy to implement solutions that would almost immediately improve the CoWIN experience, including proper publishing of FAQs, instituting a privacy policy to make the captcha slightly better from a person's with disability point of view to make it more accessible. We were fortunate that Mr. Rao was able to argue that memorandum properly before courts, and the Delhi High Court accepted all of our suggestions. So that's some of the ways in which we're having an impact. Other ways will be discussed. I'm going to hand the mic over to Sanjana if she's been able to join us. Sanjana, by the way, this is her last month at IFF. From next month onwards, she's going to be joining Columbia Law School for her master's degree in law. And in that sense, I'm very glad that we were able to schedule the call today in the month of July so that we can give her a fitting and proper farewell. So over to you, Sanjana, if you are here.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, to start with, maybe I'll speak about our Section 66A litigation, which incidentally is also, like I have a long journey with IFF with respect to this litigation. So when Shreya Singhal first came by was when I was in law school and how I got interested in media law. And we've also, as many of you must be aware, we sought to ensure the implementation of the judgment in 2018, back when I was working with PUCL. And in the past year, we've had a chance to revisit this endless litigation. And we're hoping that this is the final chapter. But broadly, the issue that we saw was this, that back in 2015, Section 66A was struck down. And we kept noticing that cases continued to thrive under Section 66A. So it started with a paper that Apar and Abhinav wrote, and now we've managed to look beyond our narrow worldview of lawyers, and we've managed to collaborate with people who work in legal tech and have managed to scrape court data and discovered as many as 700 to 800 cases under Section 66A in just a handful of states. We've approached the Supreme Court, and Justice Nariman took a fairly strict view of the fact that in spite of the fact that Section 66A should no longer exist in statute books, that cases are continuing. Most recently, we saw that the government has also passed an order asking all states to ensure that all pending cases under Section 66A are immediately withdrawn. A rights-based judgment of the Supreme Court should not take so much effort to implement, but we're seeing that that is the reality of what is happening in India. I'm hoping at Columbia also to study strategic litigation on human rights. So when I came to IFF a year ago, a bit more systematically than the part-time volunteering that I was doing, I was hoping to do litigation, but also to study it and look at the manner in which strategic litigation can build participatory democracy and substantive equality. And so far, it has been my belief that IFF, we continue to strive to do that by giving stakeholders a voice in the strategic litigation that impacts them, and focusing, and I've had the opportunity here to focus on issues such as disability and inequality. So I'm really looking forward with excitement for all the things that IFF will be doing over the next year when I'm not there. And I'm grateful for what was a meaningful gap year for me while I was waiting to leave for my master's. And yeah, I'm thankful to all of you for this opportunity. Yeah, I think Krishnesh, if you'd like to talk about the other litigation.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjana. Hi, everyone. So as Tanmay mentioned, I am a CCG Digital Rights Fellow at IFF. I'm also a lawyer and I'm part of the litigation vertical. I've been here for the past 5 months now, and it's been an extremely exciting journey where we have done a lot of good work, which I'm personally extremely proud of. I wake up excited about my work, and when I go back to sleep, I'm generally satisfied that I've done something which is worthwhile. So I thought it's a great place to work at. Coming back to litigation where Sanjana left off, we have been doing a bunch of other work in other forums as well, apart from Supreme Court and High Court. One of the forums which we actively work at is CIC, which is the Central Information Commission. So a lot of RTIs we file aim to achieve transparency, and a lot of them the government does not respond or the government refuses to provide information. So we have to take those RTIs all the way up to the commission and try and get the information. Two important appeals were heard in the past few months. One of them was related to Section 69. So Section 69 of the IT Act allows government to intercept, decrypt, monitor conversations on the internet. So it is quite a 1984-esque section which allows the government to conduct surveillance. And we wanted information which is extremely basic. So we only wanted the government to tell us how many such Section 69 orders are you passing to intercept conversation between people. And we simply asked for that information. even that information was denied to us. So we weren't asking them to share with us the COP people who were being surveilled. All we wanted was their numbers. And that information was being denied to us by the government. Subsequently, we went to the CIC, and CIC has now directed the government, the first appellate authority, to revisit our RTI application. We also had a hearing before the first appellate authority. The CIC, in their judgment, passed strong remarks in favor of our RTI application and against the government officials. They mentioned that our application was strong and the government should have considered it properly in the first round. Now we are in the second round before the first appellate authority, and they are supposed to pass their order by the end of this month and place it before the CIC. We are extremely hopeful of this RTI. If we can find out how many conversations are being tabbed on the internet, that information is extremely useful for day-to-day citizens to get an understanding how much privacy do we really have right now, because that's something that's in an impact. Apart from this particular litigation before CIC, we have also had another litigation which pertained to the consultation, which pertained to information regarding the consultation which took place before MIT regarding the 2018 data protection bill. A lot of people had submitted their comments then, and we had asked the government to supply us the copy of the comments so that we could actively participate in this process and also understand what is it that went into the current personal data protection bill, which is not being tabled right now, but might be tabled soon in the parliament and may become the data protection legislation of India. This information again was denied to us by the government. We went all the way up to CIC. CIC again agreed with us and asked the government to revisit their replies. When the government revisited their replies and responded back to us, shockingly, they gave the same exact reply. In response to this, we filed a complaint before the CIC, informing the CIC that the government has disobeyed their order. We are hopeful that this leads to action against the government, because the processes under the RTI Act. These are the two litigations which we did before CIC. There's another good news, or a great outcome which we achieved sometime in March and April, which is when in Indore there was a lockdown order which was issued. In that order, the government basically restricted any criticism on social media of government's efforts to tackle COVID-19. We came across that order. It was an order under Section 144, and we decided to file an application under Section 144(5) to the District Magistrate of Indore. In our application, we informed the magistrate that his lockdown order, which restricted speech on the internet, had a chilling effect, was against Article 19 and even against Article 21, because a lot of people at that time were trying to seek help regarding COVID-19 on the internet. And that order restricted such speech because it was extremely overbroad. After we filed the application, thankfully he decided to rescind this order and alter it and come up with another order which was much more respectful of fundamental rights than the earlier one was. So these are the three litigations, or sort of litigations. The ones before CIC are definitely litigations, but the ones before DM was an application which we had filed. It wasn't before a court as such or an independent body, but this was a consultation sort of with the executive, which extremely helped us. So these are the three things I wanted to talk of. Over to Tanmay now.
So that last application before the Indore DM, which thanks Krishnesh, is so Krishnesh took that. I'll share an interesting story with you. Krishnesh took that very personally because he's from Indore. So we have a very healthy rivalry because I'm from Bhopal. I just want to thank everybody in the litigation team, all four of you, Brinda, Abhinav, Sanjana, Krishnesh, for the stellar work that you do on a daily basis, and you keep me on my toes, and I get to learn so much from all of you guys. I also want to thank all of our donors and members. It's really because of your support that we're able to have any sort of impact at all. And I just want to stress again that all of the litigations that we've spoken about in this call have real world consequences for all of you, for me, for everybody on this call. The IT rules, for example, relate to things that you can say on social media, what you can read from digital news media, and what you can watch on OTT platforms like Netflix and Prime. The Section 66A litigation relates to the threat of prosecution that every Indian has, as long as the lower judiciary and the police authorities do not respect that section has been struck down by the Constitution. And there are 800 cases that are presently pending today. That's an average of approximately 200 cases that are being filed every year. In spite of the Supreme Court thing. So I just want to just very quickly take you through what's next for us. In litigation, it's very difficult to talk about what is upcoming for strategic reasons. But I will say that there is going to be hopefully growth in our team. There's going to be new matters. There's going to be new challenges, and there might even be entirely new practice areas. So I urge you to stay tuned, to keep looking out for our updates, and very, very hopefully I will see you back here in a quarter's time. Thanks everyone. Back to you, Anushka.
Thank you, Tanmay, and the entire litigation team for letting us know what you've accomplished in the last quarter. We're really going to miss you, Sanjana, and I hope you have the best time at Columbia. Next, we have my own vertical, which is the surveillance and transparency vertical under the wider program vertical here at IFF. So under IFF surveillance vertical, we have Project Panoptic. IFF's Project Panoptic tracks the deployment of facial recognition systems in India. And in the last quarter, we have been able to start tracking 25 new projects. This brings the total project that we're tracking to 64. In addition to tracking the deployment of these projects as part of our public advocacy initiative, we've tried to create in-depth research and analysis of different factors related to facial recognition in India, which includes how facial recognition evidence will be used in court, as well as how emotion recognition tech is now being used in conjunction with facial recognition. We also did a 3-part series on the laws and regulations governing facial recognition used in different jurisdictions such as US, UK, EU, China, to understand how they tackle the use of this invasive technology there and what we can possibly learn from them. In addition to this, we were part of a global coalition calling for a ban on the use of facial recognition in June, where we were joined by civil society organizations such as Access Now, Amnesty, and Article 19, to name a few. In terms of engaging with authorities in the past quarter, we've also highlighted and took steps against the use of facial recognition by the Hyderabad police, Delhi government, and CBSE. Finally, one of our biggest actions in the past quarter was a joint statement against the use of Aadhaar-based FRT for access to vaccines, wherein we were joined by more than 10 organizations and 158 individuals. In terms of our transparency vertical, in the last quarter, we filed 88 new RTI requests, 7 first appeals and 8 second appeals. We've also had 2 of our earlier second appeals come up for hearing before the CIC, which Krishnesh just talked about. Looking forward, our aim is to continue to grow Project Panoptic by adding more projects, but also to make it the public resource for surveillance in India. We will continue to fight back against individual deployments while also collaborating with international organizations to fight against the threat of mass surveillance at the global stage. This will be done through strategic litigation as well as by trying to nudge policymakers to come closer to our goal of either banning FRT in India or if not, then to regulate it to some extent. In terms of substantial information that we unearthed through our RTI work, we were able to gain information about government use of facial recognition for the touchless vaccination process. Our RTI request uncovered mighty letters to Twitter asking them to remove the manipulated India tag. We were supplied the Ministry of Agriculture's MOU with Microsoft on AgriStack. We also got a list of cases under which the DOT blocked websites pursuant to an order of the court. And finally, we obtained the complaints sent from all across India to the Ministry of INB on Amazon Prime, on the Amazon Prime show Tandav. Lastly, I would like to introduce our newest privacy and RTI fellow, Yashaswini Vasu, who joined us in May. Yashaswini.
Thanks, Anushka. Hi, everyone. I'm, as Anushka mentioned, I'm Yashaswini, and I recently joined IFF as the Privacy and Right to Information Fellow. Over the past year and a half, I have closely followed and admired the work that IFF does and the impact it has. So I couldn't be more elated to have gotten this opportunity to work with this extremely dynamic and never resting team. So in terms of the work that I do, this is something that resonates very well with me, and I learn each day. I work very closely in the RTI application process, filing and drafting the second appeal, the first appeal processes, which Krishnesh mentioned. And then I also work very closely with Anushka and the rest of the team on other projects like Project Panoptic, Zombie Tracker, the surveillance technologies. And I'm myself very interested in building out, greater impact on behalf of IFF on tracking and filing policy side and legal interventions on the threats to freedom of expression and overbroad censorship of social media. So that's all my work, and I want to thank all our members for enabling us to do this kind of work. I hope you will continue supporting us, and we will be able to deliver in terms of safeguarding all our digital rights. Thank you, Anushka. So over to you.
Thank you, Yashaswini. Now we're going to hear from Rohin Garg, who is our Associate Policy Counsel, who will be telling us all about what we've managed to achieve in terms of our policy initiatives in the last 3 months, as well as our goals for the future. Rohin?
Yes. Thank you, Anushka. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rohin, and I try and look after the policy vertical at IFF. I think given the breakneck changes that occur in this country at time, I think it's policy is always going to be a very happening vertical, and last quarter was no different. I think one big issue, one very core value at IFF is ensuring that innovation and the use of digital technologies is geared towards benefiting the citizens of India. Right? So when you deploy such technologies, you should try and sort of make sure it improves everyone's lives. And to that extent, I think our biggest engagement this last quarter was with the AgriStack, more formally the India Digital Agriculture Ecosystem for Agriculture. And I think in last December, we written an explainer on the AgriStack when I think people were sort of iffy about what it was. There were some media reports, but people wanted to clear. And then I think in about February or March, news emerged that the Ministry of Agriculture had signed an MOU with Microsoft, in which they would be handing over farmers' data, which immediately set off alarm bells ringing all over the place. And I think we also got to action fairly quickly. What we did was we filed some RTIs, we got access to the MOU, we in fact got access to an SOP, which seemed to imply that India's stagnant digital land records program, which has issues that are structural and would generally take some time to solve. The government may just be trying to sort of get them done and dusted very quickly because of they want to take this project forward through that SOP. Then, of course, we, along with several other farmers organizations, we held this public webinar on the AgriStack. More MOUs emerged. Amazon and Patanjali also involved in these pilot projects, and we've tried to do our best to analyze these MOUs and explain what they really mean for farmers and farmers' data. Then, of course, I think having finally realized some sense of responsibility and accountability, the ministry actually put forth a consultation paper on the AgriStack. And to that extent, I think we endorsed a submission from a lot of farmers' organizations. We've sent our own submissions ourselves. And looking forward, I think agriculture is going to be part of public discourse in India. And I think this facet of agriculture will also be, because it's very important. And for example, we've just heard news of more MOUs. So I hope to continue working on that. Another follow-up in terms of digital technologies and social welfare is, I think last year, we'd written about the social security rules that were notified, which said that Aadhaar would be mandatory for data. Aadhaar would be used to create databases of workers. What's happened recently is that Section 142 of the Social Security Code has been notified, which implies that for the receipt of any social security benefits, workers will have to use Aadhaar. And so we've been talking to a couple of unions about how we can sort of take this forward, and I think that is a project we'll be looking into in the next quarter. Coming to, of course, privacy in the Personal Data Protection Bill, the big elephant in the room. So I think over the last quarter, we've done a lot of work on the Personal Data Protection Bill. We've launched a couple of series geared mainly at sort of, getting people up to grips with various facets of the Personal Data Protection Bill. One sees this sort of basic explainer and introduction, which provide legislative history, context, a summary of the bill into sort of overview. Then we'll try to look at some of these issues in depth through our Data Protection Top 10 series. And I think that was something that was really helpful in, I think, letting people know what are the precise issues. I mean, we talk about, oh, it's a bad bill, but often people don't sort of get the granular details. I think that was very helpful there. Right now, we are doing a series called Privacy of the People, where we look at the quote-unquote real-world impacts of what the PDP, or what potential impact rather, and that involves looking at different sections of society and looking and imagining, okay, once the PDPB comes in, how will their data be sort of enriched? How will it be regulated? What are the loopholes here? So I think that is another project that is going well, and we recently also were waiting in anticipation for the report of the Joint Parliamentary Committee on the bill, which is going to come out next week, hopefully. And we will keep tracking that as it comes and provide you with the analysis there. Another exciting project related to privacy we're coming up with is a data breach tracker. So with a couple of other partner organizations, we are looking to put out this public tracker that tracks data breaches all over India, including, okay, number of users hit, what sort of accountability measures are in place. And that's one project I'm really excited about. So please do be on the lookout for that. Then, of course, we come to the IT rules. They've been talked about now, so I'll be a bit short here. But when the entire Twitter initial rounds of a friendly fire, let's say, between Twitter and the government had happened in February, we'd written a letter to the ministry as well, saying, okay, here's on what basis you sent these letters. Are these reports even true? And they actually responded to us, and they said, yeah, of course, they said, yeah, it's true. Of course, everything we said is legal. And we then further respond to them, trying to say, okay, here's where your reading of the rules may be wrong. But I think they haven't responded to that. But this is obviously something that's a very key issue for us, and we will keep tracking that. We've also tried to analyze what the impact will be of compliance, especially for some smaller startups. And I think we saw the entire sort of debacle with Twitter had when trying to get compliant with the rules, with whether they appointed someone as a chief privacy officer, chief grievance officer, then they had to remove that person. So it's clear that, I mean, if big technology companies are having such teething issues, I'm sure lower down the food chain, there will be impacts as well. But I guess that's not being recognized adequately. Another key vertical for us is digital infrastructure and internet access. So in February, we tried to analyze the gamut of policies that regulate India's digital infrastructure framework. The main policy among them is, of course, the National Digital Communications Policy 2018. And so we tried to put out an explainer on that to ensure, to make people know, okay, here's what it says, here's where the gaps are, here's where the lacunae are. And I think going forward, we will be engaging a bit more in advocacy there. So one part of it is, for example, last year we'd written to the PMO asking them to speed up the process of providing Andaman and Nicobar Islands with internet access. And we were fortunate to see that come through. But the issue there is now they have access, but it's at very exorbitant rates, 3 to 4 times what you'd pay in other parts of India. So right now we're planning to sort of put out some more things related to, okay, why are these exorbitant rates there, and write to the government saying, please try and step in and ensure that in such tough times when from students to working people, everyone's being affected by these really, really high rates, and you need to step in and do something about that. We also, another very exciting project we're doing is that we're coming up with a connectivity tracker. So India publishes actually a lot of data on connectivity, but it's all over the place. There's even within the government sources, it's all over the place, and of course, at the private sources. So what we're trying to do is trying to put out this quarterly compendium of all these sources, try and analyze the trends that emerge. And hopefully, I think one of the long-term goals of the project is, along with some other partner organizations, we hopefully one day want to conduct our own surveys on digital infrastructure, digital access, and digital literacy. Though, of course, that's going to sort of play out over the year. I think in terms of consultations and parliamentary engagement, I think I've already mentioned the Agri-Stack consultation. We also had the consultation on the Supreme Court e-courts, Supreme Court e-courts project, phase 3 of the project. And I think that also what we've tried to say is, when you introduce such massive technological changes, you have to ensure transparency, you have to ensure accountability, and you have to make sure that this really seeps into the last mile. You can't sort of have, okay, Supreme Court, no, we'll get all these fancy technologies in, but last person, someone on the lower court, so people who maybe aren't as conversant with technology, how will they be able to adequately have that day in court? Will they sort of be able to get a fair that voice sort of heard? And that's, I think, what we try to push there. Apart from that, we've been engaging with the Parliament on other areas. So I think, for example, we recently written to some of the new ministers who inducted into the cabinet, saying that, okay, of course, new people are in, but there are these sort of major agenda items on the list that haven't been cleared up, and we're hopeful of getting a response to them and increasing our engagement over there. We are also, I'm very glad to say, working on the legislative brief. We hope to present that to MPs, which will give an overview of all things digital rights in the legislative and policy space. And I'm really excited about that, guys. Lastly is emerging health data paradigm. So over the last since this pandemic started, really, health data, health technologies have been on the menu. So I'm not going to talk about Arogya Setu and COVID as much now, but what's more important is the National Digital Health Mission. It is this overall project coming from the government that does envision large-scale changes to how the healthcare industry works. Obviously will be much more technological, with much more database, some of which is needed, right? So there's this canard that may be thrown at us that, no, obviously, as we saw, as teleconsultations increased during the pandemic, that's a good thing. We don't want people to go out there. But of course, the devil's in the details. So when they introduced the health data management policy, which has loads of holes, loads of leakages, doesn't adequately address issues of consent, may sort of have the potential of exclusion, doesn't consider the fact whether we have the state capacity for this. It really does sort of, it does lead to, it's natural to criticize the government for this. And so along with the Center for Equity, Health, Law and Policy, we wrote this paper, creatively enough named Analyzing the Health Data Management Policy. I apologize for that. Analyzing all aspects of the health data management policy. And I think that was a real labor of love. It's sort of interesting to see, there's this great, we have health stacks and all these sort of major technological inventories. When you go to even, you don't even have to go to the mufassals for this. Even in small towns, hospitals, they have these paper stacks, and it's not like you have these large online databases. So we will continue to engage on this to ensure that, A, no one gets left behind, B, there's transparency, accountability, and C, that these changes aren't actually meant to sort of cater to private interests or to insurers or to health tech companies, but to ensure, again, patients, i.e. citizens of India. And I think that is, this pandemic's not over, so that's going to continue to be very relevant. And like I said, yes, we'll be on it as we hopefully have been so far. Back to you, Anushka. I'm sorry I took so much time.
No, this is needed. Thank you so much, Rohin. Next up, we have our digital literacy vertical, which has both incoming and outgoing staffers. Smitha, who has been with us since January, is leaving us at the end of her term as a fellow. But we have a new staffer, Smitha, who will be taking over the vertical. Smitha, thank you for being with us at IFF, and please take the floor now to let us know all that you've managed to achieve at IFF.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sukhneth, and I've been working as a digital literacy fellow at IFF for the last 6 months. Now, what our team has been trying to do is we've been trying to lay the groundwork to make digital rights more accessible to a much larger number of Indians than before. And this has been a really exciting experience because it's a very dynamic and people-centered vertical where we tap into our creativity to try and understand what makes people tick and how do we get them involved in the fold of digital rights in India. So here, multimedia has played a very strong role in our efforts. We've been collaborating with IFF's legal and policy teams to create visual explainers and infographic and bite-sized pieces of information about IFF's work and general ongoings with respect to digital rights in India, which are consumed by a large number of people. The number being, we have around 60,000 followers now on Twitter and the same on Instagram, and we're growing our other channels, social media channels as well. Since the last members call, we've seen more than a 200% increase in our social channels. We've also managed to tap into video communication, which is something that we've been wanting to do for a while. We've created about 15 to 20 videos, and our calculated average view count is about 1 lakh per video, which is really exciting because, we're really getting to talk to people, especially young people, and telling them that, hey, this is why your digital rights matter. We've made videos about, free speech restrictions during COVID, on the facial recognition landscape, around the regulatory landscape, around encryption, and so much more. So that's one really exciting part of this vertical. We've also been collaborating with different grassroots organizations, from the Criminal Justice and Police Accountability Project to Asha Kisan, and so on, to really better understand the intersection of social issues with technology in the country. And we have also managed to create a community of almost 600 IFF volunteers that come from around the country. And you'll find everyone from lawyers, architects, musicians, researchers, everyone. So we're quite excited about that. Now, why did we set up an entire team to do this? Why are we leaning so heavily into the public side of things? On one hand, it's because public literacy, we believe, is an end unto itself. It helps people advocate for their own rights, in terms of the internet, in terms of technology, in terms of what's happening in the country right now, and really effectively contribute to the thinking around digital rights in India, and that kind of stakeholder ecosystem increases. And on the other hand, the kind of community advocacy that this is leading to, it does maximize the impact of our institutional engagements as well. So it's been really interesting, and while we do see ourselves slowly making a dent in the space of community building with regular Indians just like ourselves around digital rights in India, I'd say the most exciting part of it is that we're just getting started. This vertical is just about half a year old. And as I now transition out of IFF, out of my role as the Digital Literacy Fellow, we have Smitha, who is coming in as a Communications and Outreach Associate. She has worked at the very interesting intersection of technology and disability and sexuality. And she has some really great ideas about how to take this vertical forward and how to maximize our impact even further. So over to you, Archasmita.
Thank you, Sukhnit. I am really excited to be joining this wonderful team who's doing great work around digital rights in India. Like Sukhnit said, the vertical has been focused on digital literacy around digital rights and basic explainers around what is going on in the country. So we are going to be focusing on that, and as well as whatever resources we've already created, we are kind of partnering with other organizations to make them accessible in other languages, other Indian languages. So that's a big part of what's coming up. Another thing that's coming up is that we're majorly revamping our website. So that's also an exciting part of the future. And we're also working on an exciting video series with somebody, surprise. So you'll see that soon on our socials. And another exciting thing that's coming up is that we are going to be rolling out a Telegram channel where we are going to be doing a more of targeted and one-on-one kind of interaction in a group, and we'll be making that public very soon. And keep your eyes peeled, and you'll see a lot more exciting stuff that's coming up on all of our channels. And again, I am really excited to be here. Over to you, Anushka.
Thank you, Smitha, and thank you, Sukhnid, for being here. We're going to really, really miss you. Now, for the most important vertical at IFF, in my opinion at least, Farkhanda Zahoor, our fundraising manager, will take us through our financials for this quarter and talk about our plan to reach new heights.
Hi guys, I am Farkhanda and I handle fundraising, as some of you know, at IFF. So over the past year, past quarter, in fact, we have been able to have a significant impact in the digital rights space in India. And this has majorly been possible because of the support of our community. Our community has stepped up in unimaginable ways to support our work. Today, I will take you through all that we've been able to achieve in the fundraising vertical in the past quarter and how our community has expanded and extended their support to us. So the IFF community expanded to 320 members in 2021, which is a significant number, including 32 visionary members. And we'll come to this later, for a raise of around rupees 3 lakhs on a monthly basis. But the support we receive from this incredible community is so much more than just the operational funding alone. Our members have consistently gone above and beyond to help us achieve our goals, and their support has been foundational for the impact we've had in this year. Not only have our members supported us on a monthly basis, they have hosted fundraisers for us, matched donations, and even extended support in ways that are non-monetary. And we are proud to say that almost 50% of the incoming donations are coming in from our individuals, from our own community. Our members have been introducing our work to their friends and family, and who later decide to join the IFF community. So that's been helping us extend and expand our community. And our growing community continues to surprise us and humble us. And we are so grateful for each and every member that we have on board with us. And as far as the financials are concerned, our operational costs are largely funded by individual donations from our members and donors, as you already know. And all the incoming public funds are used to support our staff salaries and operations, as you can see in the breakdown of the expenses. Our work is also funded by a select group of organizations who choose to support our work through organizational donations. You can see the ratio of the incoming individual and organizational donations from the given graph as well. Can we change to the next slide, please? So moving on to what we've been able to achieve over the last quarter with the support of our community members. The first part is the fundraisers. Our fundraisers have done some pretty amazing things to raise funds for digital rights. We hosted fundraisers, a community has offered match donations, birthday fundraisers, and they are coming up with new ideas every day. One of our very own members, I'm not sure if Ashish is here, but he's also decided to donate all the proceeds of his book that just got published to IFF. So yes, if you guys want to get your hands on Ashish's book, you can go ahead and get a copy for yourself. And all the proceeds will go to IFF. If Ashish is here, I would really request Ashish to post a link on the chat box. And the second very exciting bit that we saw in the last quarter is the visionary plan along with Power Play. As I already mentioned, we were able to roll out the visionary members tier over the last quarter, and it has definitely been a huge source of support to IFF. At present, we have around 32 visionary members, and a lot of our existing members also stepped up and upgraded their tiers and made this a success. With the visionary plan also comes the much hyped Power Play, which is India's first privacy card game. It's designed by Ishita Begani and evangelized by IFF exclusively for its visionary tier. We hope you guys have been able to play it with your friends and family, and we would really appreciate any feedback on the same. Moving on is one of the most important things here, and something that was promised over the last quarterly call, and something we are all extremely proud of, which is the automation of our processes. Not only have we been able to fully automate our fundraising processes over the past quarter, we have also been able to customize the ERP Next nonprofit module as per our own needs. The folks at Frappe have volunteered to set this up for us, and we cannot thank them enough. This has made our lives much easier. With this, we can keep track of our memberships, donations, manage the donor data, generate tax exemption certificates, manage volunteers, and there's so much more to this platform. And it has been very useful for us to streamline our processes. Yeah, Bhavin, yay to automation. This is, automation is something that I have been working on at IFF from the very beginning. So I am so proud to see this all come to life. Now, moving on, I will share the last bit of detail with you all before I pass it on to my colleague Shivani, because this is something I'm very, very excited about, is that we have another team member on the fundraising team. So yes, we have one more person who will join in over the next quarterly call, and we have amazing things in store for all of you. And with your support, we will continue to grow as we've always done, and keep supporting us because we really need it. Thank you so much, guys. Over to Anushka.
Thank you, FZ. Lastly, the woman who does it all and ensures that IFF functions, Shivani Singh, our digital security and operations manager, who will talk about her work, especially about IFF's new and exciting digital security vertical.
Thank you so much, Anushka. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday evening at 6 p.m. and continuing to stay with us. Hello also to everyone who's joining us via live stream on YouTube and Twitter. I'll jump straight into it. It's been close to 2 years since I started working at IFF. And in August, that's the next month, it'll be a year since we would have finished a year of our digital security work. We started last August in 2020 at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic with our pilot training for a beneficiary organization. It was 1 year long and fully online, and our goal was simple: to focus on long-term behavioral change when it came to digital security within their organization and how they approached it, and made it part of their organizational culture at the end of the year. Digital security over our work, we've also realized, is not just about learning how you can protect yourself online, but it's also about habit building. In addition to our pilot, we also were able to later on through the year take on shorter trainings with other human rights defenders. And it's been an eventful year, but more importantly, it's been a steep learning curve for us at IFF as well, since we were doing this work for the first time. I'm also pleased to share with you at the end of 1 year of doing this work, we've also managed to develop capacity to offer 2-day pro bono workshops, digital security workshops for human rights defenders and civil society organizations. And we urge people to reach out to us who need our help. The past few months in particular have also shown us the extent to which cyber attacks are being used to thwart dissent in the country by targeting activists, lawyers, journalists, and people who work in the civil society space. We are hopeful that we can scale this vertical tangibly, go beyond just 2-day workshops, and sort of develop capacity to offer longer term trainings pro bono as well. Because we really recognize that we need to fill the digital security and create digital security capacity for people in India. Additionally, we are also prepping for the eventuality where we can go on ground and conduct physical trainings for people at the end of the pandemic, post the third wave, whenever that happens. And we're working towards developing a curriculum right now, which we will make publicly available in English as well as other Indian regional languages, so that this work can also reach the everyday Indian public in a very accessible way. Um, um, as we also started doing digital security work, we realized that we had to also amp up literacy efforts in the space of digital security by itself, because not many people in India are really understand what's going on. One of the things that we did as a part of this was start a monthly digital security newsletter called the CyberSec Charcha. You might have seen it pop up in your inboxes, especially our members now and again. And we also started doing videos, digital security videos in Hindi, because we also recognize that these threats aren't just limited to people working on the front lines. It's an increasing challenge for the larger public as well, and it affects everyone. I mean, just look at the hordes of data breaches that we've come across just in the first 6 months of 2021. Studies have also shown that the pandemic has further fueled this kind of digital security challenges that people are facing at large. To end this, I also look forward to hearing feedback from all of you who receive CyberSec Charcha, who watch the videos, to let me know what you think. Let me know if it's too technical or not technical enough, if it simplifies certain issues too much. We are learning along the way, and we really value all the feedback that you have to give us. And finally, moving on to IFF's operations, something that I have been doing at IFF since I joined as an intern, and we've come such a long way since then. We've streamlined a majority of our donor accounting and human resource management practices, and almost all aspects of our operations have now settled into a smooth rhythm, so to speak. Um, and this is important, right? Because smooth running of operations, of everyday operations, as well as sort of longer term thing that you want to do with an organization, is integral to sustainably grow IFF. My aim when I had stepped into this role was to make sure that we eventually reached a place where the staff and every single person who forms the backbone of our organization faced as little operational hassle from within the organization as possible. My goal for the next quarter is to amp up and really accelerate our efforts to ensure staff wellness. I am super cognizant of the fact every day that my colleagues at IFF have a very difficult mandate to fulfill, with newer challenges arising in the digital rights space almost every single day, every single week. There's something new happening that they need to tackle. And I think the least that we can do at IFF is to make sure that the organization is a healthy workplace for its team, that gives everything that they have to further our mission. And thank you so much to our members for joining us today. That's it from me. I'm also cognizant that we're running out of time, so I will give it back to Anushka now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivani. Finally, I would like to invite Apar, our IFF's Executive Director, to share final thoughts and thank everyone for joining the call. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. It was lovely to have you. Apar?
So thank you so much, Anushka, for chairing this call. Usually this is the part of the call which we dedicate towards the feedback which we receive. I've noticed over a period of time, this feedback is focused towards our civic advocacy and literacy. And there is a constant complaint about the website. I think so points or the arrows which are placed towards me, pointing towards me right now on this slide, have been addressed by both Sukhnid and Smitha to a reasonable degree of your satisfaction. We are focusing in all our, taking it very professionally with the seriousness of what we are facing at present in this point in time. Better left unsaid, but some things are better said as well. Digitization is becoming near complete in metropolitan cities, and it is interacting very, very fundamentally with our day-to-day existence. So fundamental, it concerns our rights, our duties, there are new regulatory paradigms coming along. And hence, at this point in time, I would like to thank you, the donor and the members, for continuing to provide us with the degree of resources which are necessary to carry this work independently. We are completely funded by Indian sources, by individuals like you, which allow us this kind of unrestricted work, which has a high degree of autonomy, comes with some levels of risk, and we carry this forward very professionally with the best talent available. So please continue your support towards us. Be generous. Talk to your friends, your family about IFF. And when you do look at, see a mention in the press, and we have noticed that, and this is the benefit of having a larger team with so many people who have excellent opinions and press interactions now, from Rohin, Yashaswani, Anushka, Sukhnit, Shivani, Krishnesh, Smitha, Tanmay. When you see their videos, when you have conversations, always point and say to that press mention on that video which has gone viral, I am a IFF member. I give money to them every month. Okay, you are part of this organization. And if you have complaints, send us emails, send us messages on the forum. We're all happy to hear this. I would like to thank you immensely. One thing which is sometimes ignored, and this is the last thing I'd like to mention, is the governance structure around IFF. Our board of trustees. These are our board chairperson, Ramanjeet Singh Chima. It's Karthik Balakrishnan, who's a co-lead with them. It includes Rachita Taneja and Arvind Ravi Sulekha. These are my co-founders who are also there in the Save the Internet movement. And I would like to thank them for carrying forward, supporting my mandate as executive director, as I aim to be a coach to this team of superstars, which is performing very well and acting on your fundamental rights every day. Thank you so much for joining this members call. And please have a wonderful Saturday and Sunday ahead.